I don't actually have that much to say on this episode. I know I say that a lot. Because it's mostly a war episode. War, fighting, battles. You know, cool, interesting, relatively well executed. I wonder at the tactics. We refuse to allow air support in the most important theater of operation on an entire planetary assault. Okay. We're going to put 3 of our generals not only on the front lines, but on the very first initial invasion wave. Okay. Like, I get what they were going for. They were going for a Normandy situation. They were going for a assault on an overwhelmingly superior defense. And they kind of get across that feeling, but every time I sit back and think about the specifics of the layout and the strategy being used, I just kind of go, huh. Anyways, I do kind of like how they have both sides of the dehumanizing nature of the war here, as weird as that may sound. We have Ahsoka and Anakin, who are both basically being flippant, to the point where it's actually kind of cartoonish and frankly kind of pulled me out of the episode, but showcasing what it's like when someone that young, Ahsoka, being led by someone that emotional and violent, Anakin, try to cope with the, well, let's be honest with ourselves, with the horrors of the kind of war that they're in. The other side of that was Ki-Adi-Mundi. By the way, it was nice to finally see Ki-Adi-Mundi in this show. But anyways, so Ki-Adi-Mundi's like, I got 65. What do I win? In other words, well, obviously that's not the kind of thing that the Jedi or the Jedi Council approve of. It's sort of an acknowledgement of the fact that we've got to do something, right? We have to cope with this somehow, right? I also kind of like how the plan went completely to hell and basically everyone had to improvise. That being said, it's interesting how all 3 people had to improvise in their own ways, and it kind of showcases the leadership qualities of each of the 3 generals. General Kenobi was able to hold the line when basically he shouldn't have been able to, holding up and managing a defense that managed to maintain himself long enough for everyone to get to him, despite being completely overwhelmed, outnumbered, outgunned, etc. Ki-Adi-Mundi managed to inspire his troops, and through the efforts and victory of his troops, was able to actually secure the victory that he needed, pushing through the enemy lines. Anakin and Ahsoka were basically leading the charge by themselves. The only one who really significantly contributed to their effort, other than themselves, was Rex, and even he was only partially involved. Although he was involved and he does get credit, but that gets across my point. Both of them rely more on their abilities than the abilities of their men. Make sense? In other words, what you would usually call bad leaders. Of course, what do you expect from the Jedi? I know this has already been pointed out, and indeed I will probably be pointing it out again in the future, but let's be honest with ourselves, the Jedi really were not competent military leaders. But, of course, this was all being done on purpose, and I know that. Anybody who knows the story knows that, but it's just funny how they continue to showcase that. I wonder how many times, if indeed any, the writers have used, the Jedi don't know how to do tactics, as an excuse for the fact that the writers did not know how to do tactics. There we are. Regardless, I did enjoy this episode. It's also nice to see these kind of long-term story arcs as well, because this is, I guess, part 2 of, I think, a part 5 story arc. Because we had, we got the information, we're going after the factory, and then there's going to be fallout from the factory, too. So we're seeing the beginnings of real string continuity in Clone Wars. I know earlier we had 2-episode story arcs, but those were more like self-contained little bubble stories rather than an actual series of string continuity. So that's always good. Regardless, I enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys next time.